Slot out Rio today shows us what we're missing. And see, here's the thing, James, right? Now he doesn't really have anywhere to hide with the Rio situation. You know, there isn't a he's not ready anymore or any of that stuff. You've even got Carragher and Sky now kind of pushing the Rio Ingamoa time frame. And we'll never know what may have happened if he had got a bit more game time this season. But we know at this point onwards that he gives us something a bit different. And I'm not saying he has to play every single week. But certainly West Ham at home next week feels like a good game to give Rio a run out on one of the wings. And I don't know which one. And I don't mind which one because I think we can do better on both wings. Now, for me, Mohamed Salah, since he's come back from the AFCON, has been better than before he went, but still nowhere near the player we know he is capable of being. Cody Gakpo, like I've said, it's no surprise to me that he's somewhat one-dimensional, but I was annoyed by him today because he just refused to go around the outside, and it was there, the space was there. Rio comes on and straight away, in the 10 minutes he was on the pitch, or the 12 minutes, he mixed up the way he varied his attacks. He went round the outside, he went on the inside, went left, went right. Just looked different, gave them something to think about and caused problems for that Nottingham Forest defence, where it was way, way, way too easy for them before that. Can someone explain to me why Gakpo is never running to the byline? Is his left foot that terrible? Look, I know modern day wingers are mostly inverted, and I know that a lot of managers like them cutting inside to get a shot away, but there comes a time with Cody where it just becomes way too predictable. And, you know, you're almost able to guess what's going to happen next. And he's running into traffic a lot of the time and running into congested spaces. It's not like he's cutting inside. We've got Kirkes bombing around on the outside and he's using that space. He's just, he's just not at it. And I have to say, and I'll move on to ask this in a minute, if that's 65 million quid's on offer from Bayern Munich in the summer, I'm putting my hands up to take it, I have to say. I think it would be a lot of money and I think we should take it because I don't think Cody's going to ultimately ever be the best wide player that we can get to play in that position. I think there are far better options out there. And you can either look at what I'm about to say one of two ways. You can look at it and say when Diaz was here, it gave us both options, but it also gave Gakpo a bit more cover for, you know, the predictable stuff that he does. Because Diaz was so different and he could mix it up, it kind of hid some of the deficiencies of Cody Gakpo. And this season, well, they've been laid out to bear because, you know, his performances have been nowhere near good enough. They just haven't. Not for a player who signed a new contract. Yeah, we need pace. We need a lot more pace in those wide areas. Maddie said, I agree Fede is not the answer down the right, which highlights the importance of getting a world-class right winger to replace Mo and a left winger to compete with Rio. We can't go into next season with Mo and Cody. I agree with you, Maddie. I do. I agree with you. And the reason I'm going to agree and say we should sell Gakpo is because he's getting to become that age now where you would almost class him as not a senior pro, but he's getting towards his prime. And I don't think we're getting prime levels at Liverpool. I think there's better wingers out there. And if Bayern Munich are happy to come in and give us 65 million quid for Cody Gakpo, well, I'd be an interested seller at 65 million quid, especially if Diamonde is willing to come in and is as good as, you know, people are making him out to be. I have always said, and being honest, I'm playing catch up with Yan Diamonde. I don't know enough about him to know if he's the solution. But I do know that there are younger, faster, more tricky wingers out there that we should be utilising. And I also feel a little bit that Cody suffered from some of the frustration at the Dutch style of football that some people label at Arna. I think Cody's been the victim of some of that as well. Dave Sharpwell said, I want Yan Diamonde. This kid has a really high ceiling. Well, I want to go back to that Bayern Space post from a day or two ago about Yan Diamonde. The gist of it was that Bayern Munich want Cody Gakpo because they feel like they've lost the race for Yan Diamonde, and they want to basically fund the move. So here we go, yes. Here you go. Thank you. Keane sent it on to me again. So, let me read this out to you and then we'll have a proper chat about it. So, it reads, internally at Bayern Munich, there is growing discussion, as I exclusively revealed weeks ago, following Yan Diamonde's rejection about pivoting towards Cody Gakpo as the alternative on the left wing, with influential voices inside the club convinced he would thrive in the Bundesliga's open transitional spaces in a similar way to Luis Diaz. And what is an added new layer of tension in recent days are the fresh interactions, including signals interpreted from contacts around Gakpo's representatives that have led to some board members to increasingly believe the Premier League club holding a personal agreement with Diamonde could in fact be Liverpool. Although this remains an internal reading of the situation rather than a confirmation, it's still being handled with caution at an executive level. The ironic twist is that Bayern could end up indirectly financing that very move by paying up to £65 million, around €75 million, to sign Cody Gakpo from Liverpool, effectively funding the transfer of the player who rejected them in the first place, a scenario that underlines how quickly leverage can shift at the top of the market, even if inside these figures insist they would ultimately be comfortable with such an outcome, provided the investment guarantees immediate quality and decisive output on the pitch. So, yeah, lots to digest on that one, but basically when we finish this poll, which it looks like we're close to doing, yeah, we'll let it get to 1,500, and then we'll ask, would you take £65 million in the summer to sell Cody Gakpo if it meant getting Diamonde? So I'm going to ask that. And I guess the next question would be, do we need to sell to buy? That's probably the next question. I think of it like this. It's a lot to ask to have two young wingers and not have somebody more senior around. So if we've got Rio Engamoa, if you've got Yan Diamonde, but you've lost Cody Gakpo and you're maybe going to lose Salah, I do think you need somebody in that 25, 26 age-year-old bracket to be there as an option, a bit more experience as well. So would you sell Cody Gakpo for £65 million in the summer? Yes, no. Do you want me to put an unsure option in, or do you want a straight yes or no? Because I do know some people will rightly be unsure. So if you want an unsure option, let me know, or we just go yes or no. Whatever you guys want to do. Unsure. Yeah, no probs. Cool. Right, so we asked, would you sell Cody Gakpo for £65 million in the summer? We'll leave it go a tiny bit longer if you don't mind, because we're heading towards 1,500 votes, and the bigger the sample size, the better. Let me just add in one thing, by the way. If we're selling them for £65 million, to me, it would have to be outside the Premier League. You know, I don't want the strength in the Premier League team by selling one of our players. So I'd rather a move like that would be to the Bundesliga or somewhere outside the Prem. I'd sell Gakpo to City or Arsenal if they wanted. Really? I mean, I guess you can look at it and say, if we don't think he's good enough, do you really worry about him being good enough in the Premier League elsewhere? But I'd rather not. You know, I don't like selling to Premier League rivals. I'd rather sell outside the league if possible. Right, let's check where we at. Right, we have the votes. So, we asked, would you sell Cody Gakpo for £65 million in the summer? 87%. 87% said yes, they would sell him. 7% are unsure. So there's only 6% that definitively would not want to sell Cody Gakpo in the summer for £65 million. That's a small number.